It's a symbolic last meal for our land protectors.
Tonight, one final feast. As a controversial hydro dam in Labrador starts up, land protectors warn their waters and food sources will be poisoned.
Well, we got bacon and eggs, guys. Bacon and eggs, toast, steak. In other words, click. Then a T-bone steak right there.
And a change of scenery. How a new healing camp hopes to help the homeless in Yellowknife.
Good evening, I'm Rick Harp. Welcome to APTN National News. We begin tonight in Manitoba, where the two subjects of a major manhunt are now both believed to have died. That's according to RCMP, who today announced they've found two bodies in the northern part of the province, bodies they believe to be those of Cam McLeod and Briar Schmigelski.
The search for two young men suspected of killing 3 people in British Columbia is over. Assistant Commissioner Jane McClatchy announced police believe they found the bodies of Cam McLeod and Briar Schmigelski Wednesday morning.
At this time, we believe these are the bodies of the 2 suspects wanted in connection with the homicides in British Columbia. An autopsy is being scheduled in Winnipeg to confirm their identities and to determine their cause of death.
RCMP have been searching Gillam and Fox Lake Cree Nation for the past 2 weeks, after a burnt-out car linked to the two was found in Fox Lake on July 22nd. Since then, police have been battling rough terrain in their search. This changed last weekend when police found a new lead.
We knew that we needed just to find that one piece of evidence that could move this search forward. On Friday, August 2nd, that one critical piece of evidence was found. Items directly linked to the suspects were located on the shoreline of the Nelson River.
Police wouldn't say what the items were. McClatchy would only say the bodies were found 1 kilometer away from the items and 8 kilometers away from the burnt car. McLeod and Schmigelski were suspects in the death of Leonard Dick, American China Deese, and Australian Lucas Fowler. The search also led police to York Landing and War Lake First Nations. McClatchy thanked the northern communities for their assistance.
Your lives have been disrupted. Many of you lived with uncertainty and fear, but throughout you were resilient. You came together as communities, and you helped our officers get the job done.
Police would not say when the autopsy would be completed. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
To Quebec now, where for the first time in its 3-year history, the police watchdog has laid charges against 2 officers for sexually assaulting women in Indigenous communities. According to Quebec's Bureau of Independent Investigations, Timothy Sangoya, a decorated constable with Kativik Regional Police Force, allegedly committed a series of assaults in Tasuyak Nunavik between 2003 and 2008, then another just last May. Meanwhile, Roger Barnaby, a constable in the Mi'kmaq community of Listagouche in the Gaspé region, was arrested after a victim came forward this July. Both men have been suspended with pay ahead of future court dates. On the land, off the streets. That's the core idea behind a relatively new healing camp in the Northwest Territories, one set up last year on the outskirts of Yellowknife. Here with more, APTN's Cullen Crozier.
This is the first time we're trying this. We're just going to see if it works, and if it works, then we're going to, maybe get some people to do this on a regular basis.
William Greenland knows the challenges that come with life on the streets. It wasn't too long ago that he found himself in the same situation.
A lot of the people that are on the streets today are stuck in a place where they feel they can't fix what happened to them. You want to come for breakfast?
Greenland is a traditional counselor with the Arctic Indigenous Wellness Foundation,
breakfast and then I'll bring you back up.
A grassroots organization that runs a unique on-the-land healing camp in the city of Yellowknife.
Yeah, jump in. I don't know how many I could fit in here, you guys.
The foundation has partnered with the city to offer transportation to the camp and a hot breakfast for people in need.
Well, we got bacon and eggs, guys. bacon and eggs, toast,
Just here for the company.
steak. In other words, click. The young fellas, after you.
And it's here, deep in the woods, that the healing begins.
It's a bonus. Especially with the street people, it's a bonus when they got nothing, you know, like when they have no food, no nothing, and no money, you know, like this is a bonus for them to eat out here, you know, it's a...
Then a T-bone steak, right there.
Here we treat people the way we want to be treated, and we treat people the way that it makes them feel good, that they're being given an opportunity to express themselves in a good way.
The healing camp opened its doors last April after receiving $1 million in funding from the Arctic Inspiration Prize. Since then, over 2,000 people have accessed the camp's services, which include everything from traditional counseling to a hot cup of coffee.
Coffee's really good. I think it's awesome. I really do. I think more awareness. I think people in the downtown core, so to speak, would come out here more often once they see it.
And he's not the only one. Greenland says that the camp averages around 20 visitors a day, and the numbers are only growing.
You know, we're here all year round. 40 below, we're out here, eh? We're getting the fires going, get the coffee on. People show up at 9 in the morning, you know. But we'll see how the breakfast thing goes, you know, at the end of November. And if it's still going as strong as it is now, we'll keep going. Geez, you know, we'll get some more bacon and eggs and some more click. And so it seems to be going pretty good.
Colin Crozier, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Time for our first break. When APTN National News returns, a major milestone for the Muskrat Falls mega project leaves its opponents worried for the future of their culture and the food sources it depends on. Don't go away.
Our Thursday weather outlook begins out east. St. John's, a rainy 15 degrees. Charlottetown, partly sunny, 25. Kuujjuaq, partly cloudy, 20 degrees. Nain and rain, 11. Saguenay, 24 degrees with rain. Chibougamau, 22 degrees and rain. North Bay, a rainy 23. Sault Ste. Marie, partly cloudy, 21. Big Trout Lake, a wet 13. Thunder Bay, a little bit cloudy and 23. Thompson, partly cloudy, 21. The Paw, a little bit of cloud and 22. Gimli, a sunny 24, just like Winnipeg. Saskatoon, a bit of cloud, 24 degrees. Estevan, a bit of cloud and 26. Stony Rapids, cloudy, wet and 18. La Ronge, a sunny 22.
Welcome back to APTN National News. Today has been a difficult day for the Labrador land protectors. That's because today marks the start of flooding for Muskrat Falls, the controversial hydroelectric dam. The protectors fear it will poison the water, in the process risking generations of culture and tradition. Here with more, APTN's Angel Moore.
For his entire life, Sam Saunders has taken joy in frying up smelts, freshly caught from the local Lake Melville, for dinner. Traditional foods like smelts are more than a food source for the people of Labrador. It is also community building. The Labrador land protectors gather to feast on food they say will no longer be safe to eat.
It's a symbolic last meal for our land protectors, and let the people know that the mercury is real and is dangerous.
Duck, smelts, salmon, and cod were all harvested for the feast, traditional foods that the land protectors say will be poisoned by the toxin methylmercury. Linda Saunders McLean says the future is bleak.
If we want to go and fish, if we want to hunt, if we want to gather. It's going to be a huge concern because of the poisons that are being poured into our water, our environment, everything. It's basically the destruction of a way of life.
Mercury is a naturally occurring element that develops in the mosses and plants around Muskrat Falls. Mix it with water and disturb it, it becomes methylmercury, a neurotoxin that builds up in the bodies of humans, animals, and fish. That's why the Labrador land protectors have been against the Muskrat Falls hydroelectric dam. They say methylmercury will be produced when the reservoir is flooded, poisoning their food and eventually themselves.
We just want to let everybody know that, we're not happy with what's happening with the Muskrat Falls project due to the methylmercury poisoning that will be directed onto our food chain.
The battle against Nalcor, a provincially owned corporation, has been controversial from the beginning. The project's original cost of $4 billion has ballooned to more than $12 billion. And structural safety and environmental risks have plagued the project from the beginning. Because of public outcry, a provincial inquiry is investigating the project. The land protectors protested, petitioned, and rallied to protect the water and the land. Aaron Saunders has been part of the resistance.
There's no evacuation plan. They didn't honor the methylmercury agreements. They didn't clear all vegetation from the reservoir. They didn't do anything like that. It's scary and it's upsetting.
Saunders hunts seal, fishes salmon, and gathers medicine off the land. She says her culture will be lost.
It's sad what the Newfoundland government is doing to us. It's prejudice, it's racism. You just come in here and strip our resources away. They don't give nothing back.
Saunders joins a sharing circle after the feast. They talk about their past battles and the stress the community is facing.
I mean, you go back to the days of residential schools when they made students speak English and not their own language. The food is basically the same type of thing to a culture.
The flooding is expected to be finished in September. On Thursday, all these people here are going to the public inquiry to speak about their concerns. That story coming soon. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Happy Valley, Goose Bay.
Now, back in 2016, a trio of Inuit hunger strikers tried to stop the Muskrat Falls mega project, their goal to protect traditional Inuit and Innu foods. And for a time, their actions seemed to help force the province of Newfoundland and Labrador to address the issue, until it didn't. Delilah Saunders was among those hunger strikers. She joins us from Ottawa. Delilah, your hunger strike ended back in 2016 after the province promised its dam would minimize risks to traditional food sources. What do you make of that promise today?
I've recently, well, not recently, since 2016, not long after the hunger strike ended, felt very betrayed and still do. I'm very heartbroken that our food source is still going to be contaminated and our culture and traditions are still going to be affected despite their promises. And so, assuming the flooding of the reservoir goes ahead, what will that mean for your community's harvesting of fish, seal, and other country foods? Will they continue to harvest from Lake Melville? What are people telling you? I don't think there's a choice. The flooding has already began, and my family personally, they don't really have a choice in whether they can or cannot harvest, our traditional foods. They rely heavily on survival through traditional foods and our traditional way of life.
And what are their thoughts in terms of what will happen to the quality, to the integrity of those country food sources?
Well, during our hunger strike, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the scientific side of things. I initially joined because I saw that it was affecting my family. I also saw that it meant it was a spiritual thing for me too, to reconnect with my land and my family, but I learned so much about the scientific side of things with the bioaccumulation of methylmercury and that's something that was shared with, my family and the general public and, Inuit, Innu, and Southern Inuit and settlers alike, that these food sources will be contaminated. It's, the research is there, and it's not the first time that this has happened.
And what is the main concern in terms of what methylmercury could do if it builds up in people's bodies?
There are so many different things, from neurological diseases. In children, there could be birth defects or slowed development, as well as death even. There are people in Grassy Narrows who are experiencing the very real effects of mercury poisoning, and it's seen there. Yeah.
So where do things go from here in your mind?
I'm very proud of Nunavut government for not accepting the $10 million out of the $30 million that the Innu Nation and Nunavut Community Council did accept their third of the $30 million. I'm very proud of that. I'm not sure what's next. I know there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of concern back in my community and along the coast. It's a very not uncertain time, because we know what methylmercury will do. We know how bioaccumulation works. It's still just instilling a lot of fear and concern in people, and I guess we have to wait and see how this is going to affect the health of Inuit, Innu, and Southern Inuit.
Well, Delilah Saunders, I know today's a difficult day for you. I appreciate you making time.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Now, again, a key concern about the flooding is that it risks dangerous levels of methylmercury. APTN's Trina Roach first reported on those risks back in April of 2016. We share that story again now.
Lake Melville is the largest inland body of water in Labrador. From Happy Valley Goose Bay to Rigolet, thousands of people live along its shores.
We get fish, we get seals, it's migratory bird habitat. It's our transportation system down to do our traditional things, cutting wood and all of that. So Lake Melville is very important to Inuit that live in this area, in the Rigolet area.
Last year, McLean told APTN about ongoing research commissioned by the Nunavut government to study the impacts of a massive hydro project. The $9 billion dam at Muskrat Falls is under construction. The company Nalcor promotes it as clean power, creating over 5,000 jobs. Environmental groups see it differently.
And the only thing flowing out will be methylmercury. So your food is being poisoned downstream and no nutrients coming from above. That is what we will inherit from this project.
APTN talked to Jim Learning last fall. He showed us the area that will be flooded when the dam is complete. Nalcor doesn't plan to clear all the brush and trees, and once that organic matter is underwater, it makes methylmercury. And a new report by researchers at Harvard say in a worst-case scenario, those levels could increase by as much as 1,500%.
That means the uptake through the fish and the seals will be quite high, and then that leads to the Inuit downstream, and in the communities that are impacted, could be quite high.
Okay, this is a sealskin. It's a young jar.
Methylmercury goes up the food chain from fish and seal meat to the Inuit who eat it.
I'm concerned that in the future there might be a time that we won't be able to. And that is a way of our life that will be gone because of mercury.
Methylmercury is a toxin that affects the nervous system, can cause cardiovascular problems, and impact brain development in children. The report makes recommendations, including that the area to be flooded is cleared of all trees first. The Nunavut government is wrapping up a week of public meetings to get the report out to the public and get input.
They are extremely concerned, and they want us to be more forceful. They want us to really come out and defend Inuit rights downstream and really try to make changes to this project before it's too late.
Nalcor says it will incorporate the report's findings in its own studies. Clearing the area to be flooded is not part of the plan. Inuit leaders want the provincial regulator to make it happen. No word on that. Trina Roach, APTN National News, Halifax.
Time for a break. When we return, why a massacre from over a century and a half ago still resonates deeply for the Nakota. Please stay with us. Here's the rest of your weather for Thursday. We begin in high level, a wet 13 degrees. Grand Prairie, 15 and rain. Edmonton, a wet 22. Lethbridge, a sunny 32. Tofino, 18 and cloudy. Kamloops, sunny and 35. Fort Nelson, rain and 10. Prince Rupert, a rainy 17. Rock River, a little bit of cloud and 13. Whitehorse, also a little bit of cloud and 19. Wrigley, 14 degrees with a bit of clouds. And Trout Lake, a lot of clouds and 14. Colville Lake, a wet 13. Fort McPherson, a sunny 17. Repulse Bay, a little bit of cloud, 13. Cambridge Bay, rain and 10. Arctic Bay, a few clouds, 11. Cape Dorset, a rainy 8 degrees. And thanks for sticking with us. It's been dubbed the Cypress Hills Massacre, an 1873 murderous attack carried out by non-native hunters against some 20 Nakota individuals. Today, well over a century later, the site of that slaying has become a touchstone for the victims' descendants. CTV's Creason Ajikute has more.
So this was always our home. This is always a place for us.
Every year, the Nakota people from the United States, Alberta, and Saskatchewan gather in Cypress Hills for a feast and ceremony.
Our connection is always here. This is our roots. This is who we are. And we're always emotional when we come here.
According to oral history, the land has always been home for the Nakota. They come back to make sure that history is not forgotten. This is Fort Walsh. The Cypress Hills Massacre took place near here about 146 years ago. A group of bison and wolf hunters and whiskey traders attacked a group of Nakota people, resulting in a massacre of elders, warriors, women, and even children. As the story goes, a dispute over stolen horses led to the American hunters opening fire on the Nakota people and their camp, killing more than 20 of them on June 1st, 1873. Clyde Owatch is a direct descendant of those who survived.
My father's uncle had survived it, and he's the one of them that passed on these stories. Sadly to say that these wolfers were never charged.
The massacre was one of the reasons why the Northwest Mounted Police was formed. Chief Manhunt took the coat and Chief Long Lodge then signed Treaty 4 in 1877, and land at head of the mountain in Cypress was to be surveyed for their reserve. But the government changed its mind after the rail line was to be moved south. In 1882, the Nakota were forcibly removed from their homelands. The people of Chegakin, whose First Nation is now located south of St. Aluda, call it their own Trail of Tears.
There were supposed to be 1,500 Nakota, but by the time that they removed us and got us into the Indian Head area, only 250 people survived the walk.
The chief of Chegakin says there are now discussions underway to reclaim the land that was never surrendered.
We always talk about reconciliation. We talk about getting our self-identity back. This is one of the steps.
And nearly 150 years later, the Nakota people continue to hope that one day they can finally come home. Creason Ajikute, CTV News, Cypress Hills.
Well, that's it for APTN National News tonight. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at this same time for the latest from Indigenous country. You can also stay informed via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or aptnnews.ca. I'm Rick Harp. We'll see you all again tomorrow. Up next on APTN Investigates, a retrospective, the case of the missing bell of Batoche. Take care.